join us on the Path Radio Mix online. And to get there, type in thepathradio.com. That's thepathradio.com. And enjoy free streaming music all day long. That's it. thepathradio.com. All right, now let's get to the main show, the Monthly Social Podcast, with me, your host, Guido Perino, as you go on with Guido. Welcome to the November show here on the Monthly Social, where I welcome the legendary Felix Cavaliere of the Rascals as he launches new music and heads out on tour. We'll explore some of the band's hits, history, and journey, and get his take as he navigated the Beatles era, the Ed Sullivan Show, and shares insights on how the music industry has changed. Then I catch up with Super Julie Braun, recognized for her award-winning docu-series From Ground Zero to Career Superhero, and her energetic approach on helping people get the career they want and the pay they want through her Super Purpose program. Julie gives us a special offer too that you'll have to listen in for. Next, I explore the top 10 etiquette tips for men at the gym. Plus, we spin some great music and an exclusive The Coach's Call segment on betting in the NHL and the Shane Pinto suspension. Lots to talk about, so let's roll. Before we get things rolling, let's hear from one of our friends of the podcast, Johnny Prosciutto. Johnny Prosciutto, artisanal Italian homemade products. We make it like our grandfather, or as we say, Nonno. Naturally cured, old-fashioned, and delicious. Order online at johnnyprosciutto.com, and we deliver right to your front door, where the only thing left for you to do is enjoy it with your friends and family. That's johnnyprosciutto.com. Well, it's hard to believe that in Canada, we've just come off of the Thanksgiving holiday, and that our friends to the south of us in the United States, they're heading towards their Thanksgiving, and that after that, we're heading into Christmas. For some, just the holiday season. For me, Christmas. And I guess what's hard to believe is that these events are centered around being thankful for what we have, and family, and giving, and understanding, and even to some extent new beginnings, reconciliation as we move towards the new year. But I've been noticing, and you probably have too, the temperature, the global temperature certainly has risen, and I don't necessarily mean weather. That may be the case too. It might be warmer in some parts, and there's evidence of what's happening with our global temperature in terms of weather patterns. But I'm talking about the temperature that we are displaying as a human race. You know, it's been a while now since the Ukraine-Russia war came to be and continues to be, and all the tragic events that have happened there for people. And then recently we saw what's happening in Israel and with Hamas, and some heartbreaking stories there as we watch hostages being taken, people fleeing, just an eruption of emotions. And we also saw recently that, and you hear me talk about Sault Ste. Marie quite often on this show, because that's where I come from. Small towns and big dreams, Sault Ste. Marie. Well, late this summer, there was a murder there where a young woman's life was taken and someone else was attacked on their boardwalk. And that was a tragic incident. And then this October, there was an entire family in an incident where intimate partner violence ended up taking the life of, it seems, 3 young children, at least one individual, and I'm not certain at the time of this recording if the murder suicide, the suicide portion, resulted in a 5th death. I do know that there was acknowledgement at the national level. Even the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, sent his condolences to the family and to the community as Sault Ste. Marie grapples with whatever it is that's going on there, whatever the temperature that has been risen in this small Northern Ontario community. And I'm saying it's just a microcosm of what I'm seeing going on. And this temperature rising didn't happen overnight. We didn't just wake up and people decided to start having wars and settling their differences with guns and bombs and knives and hate. I started to watch this temperature increase, I'm going to say mid-pandemic. Mid-pandemic, folks started getting really angry. If you think about it, early pandemic, everybody was afraid. There was a lot of unknown. The majority of the people were trying to support each other to get through a time where they were uncertain of what was happening and taking place. But that, through time, escalated. And somewhere along the lines, trust was lost. Misinformation was spread. Tools like Twitter, now called X, became vehicles to spread misinformation, to attack others, to bully sometimes others online, unfortunately. But I've watched that temperature rise. We've seen it, between nations. We've seen it at the community level. We've seen it in politics. I mean, you don't have to look any further than politicians, whether you're talking Canada or you're talking the United States or even elsewhere. Politicians that are using tactics to manipulate our opinions of another politician, not based on the merits of what the politicians can or can't do for us as a society, whether it comes to education or health or social assistance for the betterment of each other, but attacking each other personally, using misinformation, misrepresentation. And to me, that's not leadership. I think leadership, you have to be truly authentic and genuine, and you have to have a plan that's actually rooted in trying to advance your community or society, not rooted in trying to advance your own political agenda because whatever group you belong to believes that you should do things a certain way, but maybe looking at things a little bit more broadly for the betterment of a community, for the betterment of a society. And it's not easy. I get it. Our leaders, you want to be a leader? It's not easy to be a leader because there's a lot of different considerations to take in. There's a lot of different communities to understand. There's a lot of different standards and living arrangements, right? Not everybody's at the same opportunity level either. Anyways, I'm noticing this temperature rise, and I'm concerned that globally this temperature has risen. And I've said before on this show, we have to find a way to be better. We have to find a way to be better for ourselves, and we have to find a way to be better for each other. And so when I do this show monthly, my focus is usually to try and provide information that I know to be true or factual based on whatever research I could perform. And it's not perfect. I bring guests here, and I try to read different sources of material and bring that in, and I also try to bring you some entertainment in terms of music. I try to uplift, try to provide some self-help topics and things where we can explore and understand ourselves and each other so that we can find ways to be better as opposed to focusing on the negativity. Now, I will try and educate you on some of that negativity sometimes in terms of what I've learned about it. But it's, like I said, it's never perfect, but it's better than the temperature that is that which we attack each other with and find ways to deconstruct each other with. I don't think that is very helpful. We could be truthful without attacking each other and deconstructing. We could be truthful, right? We could help each other without spreading misinformation. And so with that, this show recently got recognized by Feedspot as being one of the top 20 in Canada for providing self-help. And then recently, I got a message from the Canadian Podcast Awards. And they said, "We're thrilled to have your podcast in the running for this year's Canadian Podcast Awards preliminary consideration." I imagine that's some sort of pre-screening of the show. But whatever, if it, and I said this online to some followers, I said, look, if this goes no further, just that simple recognition that maybe I'm doing something right. Maybe I'm doing something that can be recognized, that can be consumed, that can be used for the betterment of ourselves and each other. And that's going to continue to be my focus for whatever number of shows I continue to decide doing this for, I suppose. So I know that I always say, look, I got a lot to talk about. And I just felt that, I wanted to address the temperature out there and, give recognition, send my thoughts out. If prayers are your thing, sometimes I say sending my prayers out. If prayers are not your thing, that's okay too. But sending my thoughts and prayers, because I don't know outside of those and outside of what I do here with this show, what else I can do. Sometimes from afar, as we deal with, some of the global events. But I know here in my own space, in my own spot, right here on the Monthly Social, I can try to be the best that I can be for myself and the best that I can be for you. And so with that, let's continue and get to the rest of the show. As always, thank you so much for being here, for listening, for sharing, and for supporting. All right, let's get going. We've had royalty on the show before, but never a king. I'm welcoming the king of Blue-Eyed Soul, multi-Hall of Famer, a founding member of the hit band, the Rascals, who rose to popularity with hits like Good Lovin', Groovin', and A Beautiful Morning. It's Felix Cavaliere. Whether he was with the Rascals or standing solo, his skillful keyboarding and soulful vocals have continued to draw accolades and fans across generations. It is my honor and my pleasure to have you here, Felix. How are you?
I am well, Guido. Thank you so much.
Right on. I'm great that you're here. I'm so excited. I've been pumped up this whole time. You're cool. I love it. I gotta ask, with the last name Cavaliere, I think you were born in, you correct me, I think you were born in New York, but is that right? But your roots, do you know if your roots go back to Calabria?
No, my family comes from two places over there, and as you know, Italians want to know where they come from.
Of course.
My mother, she comes from Sicily, and my dad comes from Naples. And near Naples, there was a town where this Saint Felix was born. So all the men are called Felix. You gotta be lucky. You can't change the luck, right? So I'm number 3, Felix.
Are
number
you really?
3. I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
my grandfather, my father, and me.
Have you ever gone by Felix the Third?
Well, no, just Felix, because,
Yeah.
it's kind of a strange name for a lot of people. But, there was another gentleman by the name of Felix Papalardi, from the Cream.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And our grandparents used to know one another from, I guess, the old country or the new country. So, but as far as I know, not too many Felix.
Yeah, not too many Guidos, so I hear you.
Not too many Guidos. But I used to remember Guidos a long time ago.
Yeah? Were they good? Were they good Guidos?
They were great people, but not in Tennessee. Guido, they don't know what that is. What is that? Is that an Italian dish?
maybe to some people I might be.
Yes.
So look, Felix, I know I'm going to go back a few years in asking this question.
Sure.
How did you get started with the Rascals?
Well, here's the story. I was in college. I was in Syracuse University. I was studying pre-med. And I had always been a musician my whole life. I was a classical musician when I was a boy. And then later when I got to high school, I got involved with, well, I won't call it rock and roll yet. I would call it pop music, So I started a band in Syracuse. In the band, there were some people who had connections to what we call the Catskill Mountains. In New York State, Catskill Mountain was a very big summer place that people used to go all the time from New York City because there was all these kind of places. Now they would call them casinos, but they were hotels in those days,
Right.
And so we took a summer job at this place called the Raleigh Hotel. Okay, I had a ball. I mean, it was like, we worked every day, and every weekend they had what they call a headliner come in, and they would be like the famous guests that would come in. Sometimes they were comedians, sometimes they were, well, this one weekend changed my life. This group called Joey D and the Starlighters. They had a record called Peppermint Twist. Okay, so they come in, and not even maybe a month after that, this summer was over, they went to Europe, and their organ player quit.
Oh.
So they remembered me, and they called me up, and they said, look, would you like to join us in Europe? Our organ player quit. We could use you. Okay, so I called up my father, and, we were all, my family pretty much medical. I said, I got this offer. What do you think? And long story short, they said, yeah, go, give it a try. Take a semester off, I get on the plane. I go to Frankfurt, Germany. We go to work in the place. This group opens up for us. Everybody's screaming. Everybody's hollering. What is this? Oh, those are the Beatles. What? Yeah, there's this group called the Beatles. They come from England. They're going to be very big. They're going to be what? I can't hear a word you're saying. Everybody's screaming and hollering. So that's how I started. In other words, I looked and I said, wow. Number one, this looks like a lot of fun. Number two, I think I can do that. Nobody really knew at that time how wonderful their songwriting was. Although they did do their songs, you never knew there were geniuses like this. There was three geniuses in that band of writing. Yeah. So that's how basically, so I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this as a career. So long story short, when I went back to the United States, Joey had a club, and the people in the band in the club became three of the Rascals. And then I found this wonderful drummer, Dino Donnelly, who was just magic. Started the band, we had a deal within 6 months.
Wow.
Well, it was a good band, man. I chose the people very carefully. They were excellent at what they did. They sang well, they played well. And I just, I was really lucky to find them. Let's put it like that.
And you got along well. You had a relationship.
Yes and no. So that's the second part of the story. I didn't go to the second. Yeah, we got along well. We were like brothers for a while, but it's unfortunate that a lot of the bands end up not too good. That's one of the sad things about the career that I don't like that, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, there's no predicting that, I guess. You get different personalities
That's life.
and different directions. And especially as musicians, you're all artists, right? You're all artists. So you all have different ideas sometimes, and sometimes you have the same ideas, and that's an issue too. Look at you. You guys changed your name at some point after a series of hits. You went to the Rascals. You started out, I think, as the Young Rascals. You've probably answered this question 1,000 times, but here's the thing: there's still people who are following you today, like and learning about your music who don't know about it. So what was the deal? Why the name change?
Well, you know, the idea was like this: the name the Rascals, somebody already had. See, there's a lot of trouble with names. In other words, if I want to go out and have a Coca-Cola and put my name on the bottle Coca-Cola, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. So we were just starting out, and we were actually in California, and Good Lovin' had just come out.
Yeah.
And our manager ran into some difficulty with the record company. We're going to get sued because there is a Rascals. There's another group called the Rascals, called the Harmonica Rascals. They come from prehistoric times. He changed the name without telling us. Now, in America, they had this television program, I don't know if you had, called The Little Rascals. Did you ever see The Little Rascals?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, yeah.
My God. Everybody thought we were the Little Rascals. I says, please, save me from this. I can't stand it. Does that dog really have a circle around his eye, or did you paint it up? So when we got some kind of like notoriety, I said, please, 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 get rid of this name. From a business point of view, it might not have been a good idea, but a name is like you're naming your kids. What are you going to name your kids? Oh, I'm going to ask that stranger over there. That's what it was like.
But at some point, like, you had the hits, you guys were known, and when you were talking in the music circles, we knew who the Rascals were, right? Like,
exactly. I mean, and it's a nicer name, the Young Rascals. Like it's just call anything the Pink Rascals, anything. But it was just very strange. But the fact is that the manager didn't ask us. That's what caused the difficulty.
Well, you made it through, and we still know the Young Rascals and the Rascals.
Yes.
So now look at the Rascals. You mentioned one of the songs. You're still grooving, and you're still giving us more good loving. Look, right. As I understand, and you mentioned his name already. You and Gene Cornish are heading out on a new tour. It's called the Timepiece Tour. And right. I think you note on that. Look, Eddie Briganti and Dino Danelli are not part of the tour. But what does it mean? What does it mean to you and Gene to still be going out and performing at this stage in the band's history?
Well, most of the people who I know who are like musicians from the old days and probably much from the new days, we love what we do. You know what I mean? Like, if you say to musicians, you're going to retire, what do you mean retire? We don't want to retire. Even like, in the last few weeks, Ringo came to town here. Ringo got inducted into the Musicians Hall of Fame. We have that down here in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. And he's older than I am. He's still working. He doesn't have to work. He's got so much money. I mean, come on. Yeah. You can't take this away from us. This is something that we love. Gene grew up in Rochester, New York. As I say, he comes from Canada. He comes from Ottawa. Yeah. But he grew up in Rochester, loving being on stage. So he wants to go back, and God willing, he'll be able to go back. Because, health, when you get a little older, you got to be careful, know?
Yeah, we're rooting. Everybody's rooting for Gene there. So
absolutely,
we're hoping that happens. There's going to be some good times. Yes. You've brushed and reminisced a little bit, with some past years. What would be your fondest memory of the years with the Rascals, looking back?
Well, there's so many, I mean, like I say, it was a lot of fun, and one of the good things about it is that the Rascals were very big in Hawaii. And we were so big, they were like the Beatles in Hawaii. So what we used to do, and you'll appreciate this, because we would go at least twice a year. Awesome. And during that time, every time we went, they would give us 2 tickets for our families. So we were able to bring almost our whole families over all those years to Hawaii. And here's the good part. We always brought an aunt or a mom or a grandma who could cook. And we would stay and we would have like a big Sunday dinner. And, the memories of that, it was always, they call ohana, they call it in Hawaii. It's like family. It means familia, family. Those memories, were really wonderful.
That's for folks listening, that's a big thing, that your fondest memory is ohana, family, la familia, right?
That's right. Well, because a lot of people in the bands, their families, they always dreamt about going to the Hawaii, but they never could. So with us, they could. So that was really nice, bringing your cousins and your sisters and your brothers, aunts and uncles. Some of them are no longer with us, but they remember going to Hawaii.
That's a great memory. Thank you for sharing that with us, Felix.
It was a great time.
Another great time. Look, there's always been an aura around the Ed Sullivan Show, and you had a chance to be a big part of that. How does one where do you put that in your in your book of experience? What did it mean to you then? What does it mean when you look back on it years later?
Well, Ed Sullivan Show was a big kind of boost to your career. It was kind of a madhouse to do because it was really live, and, now today when they call it live, it's for the most part, except for Saturday Night Live, it's not live, it's taped, but this was live. And, if I could just explain a little bit, you started on Monday morning, early, like 7 a.m. You rehearsed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you did a complete show, complete audience, not televised. And then Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, it was live. And, when you do a live something, whatever it is, everything is timed, except Ed Sullivan. So what happened is he would see somebody in the audience that he knew and he would lose his place. Now the scramble began backstage to make up 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. And it was a madhouse. It was really a madhouse. It was so much fun because of the fact that, we were backstage with people who were really famous. I mean, famous comedians, famous actors, it was just like, wow, we're backstage with these folks. It was, for a bunch of kids, it was really, really interesting.
So you kind of alluded, I was starting to think, what was it like back there backstage dealing with the show? What a phenomenal schedule. Was there ever a specific incident where something didn't quite go as planned that you remember? A guest, a situation, anything of that type? I mean, and you said it, live today isn't really live. That was live, right?
Well, you see that the things for example, again, we go back to the family, my father was, was a dentist. He was very, very professional, conservative man. I never saw my dad without a tie. I think it was glued to his body, and there was this television show on years ago. It was called That Was the Week That Was. And there was, I can't remember names, but there was this beautiful blonde lady that was on this show, Nancy something. Yeah. And, of course, my dad, I mean, he had eyes, he saw eyes. Well, she was on the show with us one year. And I didn't tell him that she was in what they call the green room. The green room is where all the entertainers. And so I said, come on, Dad, come on backstage. And there she was. And I'm watching this man. All of a sudden he sees, and he goes, and, it's things like that, man, that, you can't reproduce because, I mean, he was shook up. It was great. I got my dad good. I got him good.
those little things, those little surprises, Felix?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, man. That's the thing. When a group, we were only together 5, 6 years. I mean, seriously, but But in the beginning, we had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. You know, we had a bunch of crazy guys, man, you know, and it was fun. And then, unfortunately, later years, it stopped being fun because, I don't know, like, you know, we talked about earlier, that partnerships sometimes, like marriages, you know, they don't go well. And that's always been something that bothers me, especially now, you know, our drummer passed away. You know, we're getting older now. We got to bury the hatchet and be friends, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And we're hoping other bands learn from the experiences that folks like yourself talk about through the years, and being able to do that together. You know, just thinking about that, Felix, you know, we're looking back a little bit, and as we look forward, and we're talking about music and bands and people, did the music in the band change you, and how, you know, and how, if it did, or do you think it was the other way around? Did you and the band change music as you were going through these experiences?
Well, you know, as you grow, you know, basically you change anyway. You know, you mature. You know, different circumstances in your life, personal and business, and you know, and then the world turns. You know, and look at Beatles. Look at the music that was coming out. You know, it kept growing and growing and growing. Well, we grew too. In other words, basically, you know, your musical tastes change, and because I had musical training, I could really, I don't know, almost do any kind of music. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing, you know, it was compared to Beethoven and, you know, Tchaikovsky, this was easy, you know? And so we were given the platform to do things. Plus, we had a real gift. We had this gentleman who came from Turkey by the name of Arif Mardin, Mardin, who was in the studio with us. And like the Beatles had George Martin.
Yeah.
We had this wonderful man who could do any kind of music. All I had to do was tell him, I want this. I want French strings. I want Italian horns. He had it. He did. He was really not only well trained, but very talented. So we were able to do anything. Well, you know, as your career goes on and you have more and more power and more strength, let's try it. Let's do it. You know, it's just a very interesting time because of the fact that the music was alive and well.
So maybe a little bit of a balance, eh? It's a little bit of a give and take. You're growing, the music is growing, the industry's growing, you're growing with it, you're growing with each other, eh?
Yeah. If you're lucky, see, but we were very lucky because we had the Beatles around, you know, and the Beatles kept breaking down these barriers with music. You know, I tell the story all the time. I mean, when they came out with Michelle and Yesterday, that opened the door for us to do How Can I Be Sure? Because the radio stations had to play the Beatles. You know, it's not I want to. You have to. Well, now you open up the airwaves to us. So their contribution to the rest of us in the music industry was phenomenal.
Felix, on your site, Steven Van Zandt says some people may not realize it, but the Rascals were the first rock band in the world.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Tell me.
Well, we had a good band, man. I mean, like the guys in our band, you know, one of the things that, you know, made us get a deal within 6 months is the fact that we had at least 3 of the 4 people were leaders of their bands. Eddie was a little young, but, you know, he came from a family. His brother was also a singer with the Joey D. So we were very strong, and I'm very proud of that. So we really... Another thing is, a lot of the bands of that era did not play their records. We did, you know. The only addition that we made later years was to get a bass player because I did the bass on the organ, and after a while, as the sound started to improve, you know, we got a fantastic bass player who came in and really helped out.
Nice to the first rock band in the world. Look at as the music industry, you know, may have changed throughout the years in different ways. On August 22nd, 2023, you released your first solo album since 1993, which was Dreams in Motion. The new album is called Then and Now. You've got 10 songs on it. How do you approach your music and solo album in 2023? Like, do you do anything different today to prepare, to write, to connect with fans through your music than you did in, let's say, 1993? or maybe even with your previous success with the Rascals.
Totally different, yeah. Well, in the first place, the album started before the COVID. So normal, you go into a studio and you do what's called basic tracks. You know, you do your musicians, you do your what they call foundation tracks. You know, like the drums, the bass, the guitar, keyboards, a little bit of vocals. Sometimes you do that later, and then all of a sudden we all got locked up for this COVID. So now instead of going to the studio, we're on these little computers. And as a matter of fact, one of the songs on the album, I wrote this song called Soul Love with a Toronto guy by the name of Luke McMaster. I don't know if you guys know him there, but he came down to Nashville. He's a young artist. They came down to write with me. So I've got a little studio in my house. I got a little recording studio. And they came in and said, that's okay. We got our laptop. I said, what do you mean you got a laptop? We don't need your studio. We got everything you need. I said, you're kidding me. So we wrote that whole song on a laptop, on a Mac Air. So this album really was done pretty much on laptops, on desktops, on computers, because we couldn't go out. So I did this with my guitar player, who was also a producer, co-producer. And it came out really great because, first of all, we had plenty of time, nowhere to go, you can't leave. So yes, that was quite different from the past. Then in answer to your second part of your question, to get heard by people, we have Guido. We got podcasts. We never had podcasts. It was a whole different world. We have Spotify. We got Apple Music. We got Tidal. Getting on the radio stations today, it's almost impossible, man. I mean, it's a whole different world. Which you get into it, and then people say like, well, these old guys, like it's always better in the past. No, it was not better in the past, but it was a little easier. You know what I mean? Because now it's all corporate.
It's interesting. Easier on the radio station in the past. Easier. Is it easier to make the music right now, like with the technology and all that? Like, do you find that it is?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
and it's impossible. We couldn't have done it. During a pandemic, everything's closed. And we got these computers, and it's really amazing. If people don't know that that so-called technique, they should kind of go onto the YouTube and just think, how do you make a record on a computer? It's amazing. I mean, I have on my computer, I have almost every sound you can think of.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's amazing. Now, of course, there's good and there's bad and everything. But I happen to like the technology. I like it. I think that there's good and bad with everything. It's like my guru used to tell me, well, what do you mean it's good and bad with everything? Well, he says, like, you take electricity. You plug your iron in, it's good. You plug your finger in, not so good.
Yeah, and you know what, Felix, let's be honest though too. You can have every sound you want on your computer, but you have to have the skill and the talent, and you have that. I mean, I could have guitars on my wall, but it doesn't mean that I can play them. So
no, absolutely.
You have that other element that you're going, we figure out your technology and the rest of your stuff is good to go. And I think the other key thing that you said is distribution. The distribution now. I mean, you have this show, you have the ability to distribute through all these other channels online. It's just letting people know, hey, this is what's out there. But you are gaining, like, when you look at your music and you're gaining audiences that are much younger, or not your typical traditional fan that you always had. How do you attribute that? Like, how do you sit there and you go, I'm still connecting with this other generation out there? Like, is that not mind blowing? Like,
it's mind blowing. No, it is. It's mind blowing. And as you say, that could not have happened in old years. I mean, I hate to use the numbers because I get a little scared when I look at how long ago we had, But music, especially the era that we came from, the 60s, and pretty much a little bit of the 70s, the music was really, really good.
It was.
It's kind of like in Europe when they had the Renaissance, with the painters. the Monets and the Monets and, Van Goghs and all those people, this is a major part of and Canada as well, pop music, it's a little different now, it's amazingly different in a lot of ways. I mean, like you look at the people who are out there, but, like take, for example, like, of course, everybody knows the Taylor Swifts, and the Beyonce. But, people ask me a lot of times, they say, well, what do you listen to? Well, one of the good things about the streamers, the Spotify and the Tidals and the Apple and all, is that we can listen to international music.
Right.
Well, I came across this artist that I noticed that a lot of English people are aware, called Burna Boy. Okay. You know Burna Boy?
No.
Listen to Burna Boy. Burnaboy. Comes from Nigeria. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. I saw this Apple Music special of a concert that he did, I believe, in Wembley Stadium, which was packed. Every single person in that audience knew every single word of this man's songs. It was astonishing. And you know what? A lot of the English artists, like, the what do you call it? Ed Sheeran.
Oh,
they do duets with him.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I got it now. Yeah. All right.
And you look around and you say, like, my God. So music is alive and well around the world,
Yeah.
And, it's really, look, it's fun. I enjoy that.
I mean, you're on this show. Right now, this show gets downloaded and streamed in 55 countries.
Wow.
It blows my mind too.
Wow. That's fantastic. Well, I love to travel. So anytime those people want to see me or hear me, go to FelixCavalieremusic.com and I'll be there.
We're gonna put that in the show notes. Felix, let me ask this question. And we've been time warping a little bit here and technology, etc. I said your previous solo was 1993. The time gap. What's with the time gap between that and this?
The albums that I did were live albums at that time. After that, I did live product. Paul Simon recently put out another album. And Paul's phenomenal, man. I don't know if there was a television special on recently where they gave him like lifetime awards. I mean, he said, "Why am I doing this? Nobody's buying this." Now, that's a shame because, like his new albums are just as good as his old album. Why am I doing this? It's very difficult to get the audiences to buy, and unfortunately, you have to spend money to make an album. You have to spend money to promote an album I mean, I hate to say it's the money, but as this friend of mine wrote a song called, "It's not the money, it's the money." It's expensive, and you put this out and you don't get anything back. My daughter, Aria, I called her Aria because I knew she was going to be a singer because when she was born, Aria Cavaliere. She put a lot of money into a recent song. I said, you got to be careful because you're probably not going to see that back, and if you can afford it, great, but it's difficult, you want to know that people are out there and, thanks to the podcasts and thanks to the internet, we can get it out there.
So here's the other part, Felix. We have a lot of content out there right now, like artists. So there's a lot of distribution. There's more artists out there than ever before who have that ability to reach more people than ever before. And so there's a lot of content. There's a lot of content out there. And you're right. So shows like this, we highlight, what an honor to highlight Felix Cavaliere tonight as we're doing this. It's a huge treat, huge highlight. And we're hoping that folks are going to check out FelixCavalieremusic.com. And they're going to listen to this, some of the new tunes. We're going to play a few of them a little bit later on the show and stuff. Great. So that's going to be cool. And they're going to get to hear it too. We're going to look at thepathradio.com. It's going to play some of your tunes as well. And that's here in Toronto. It's a Toronto music mix station. And so they're going to look to play some of your tunes as well, Felix. So lots of different ways that they can hear you, and then they can go and say, yeah, we like you so much. We're going to download and buy some Felix Cavaliere music. So your new album.
I appreciate it, man.
We appreciate the music. We do. And I think you need to know that. Music icons like yourself, you need to know that we love you and that we want you to keep doing this stuff. Your new album, Then and Now, I got to ask this too. The main graphic on it is a butterfly. It looks so awesome. It seems to be emerging from the sky. Maybe it's a bit of a dream sky or whatever it may be. Is there a connection to your previous album, or what significance did the cover have, or where was it born, etc.?
Well, it kind of came from, like a concept that this artist had that, kind of, it's kind of like a real good luck charm, happiness, a good old peace, love, and happiness that we used to have in the 60s. It kind of signified that to a lot of people. But the interesting thing is, we finished the album, it's 5 old songs that I redid. I tried to let people see what influenced me.
Yeah.
And 5 new songs. And I took artists like Ray Charles, Jackie Wilson, and Clarence Carter, and Benny King, who really, really influenced me. And then we wrote new songs. I wrote new songs to show that. And then we finished it, and then my manager says, you got to do a vinyl. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the people out there are buying vinyl. And I said, wow, really? Well, the problem is, to do a vinyl, you have to have what they call a pressing plant, a factory that does that. The same amount of places, at least a year ago, 2 years ago, were existed only in the 60s. They stopped. So it took me a long time, over a year, to get the vinyl pressed.
It does.
And then I kind of asked, why do people want the vinyl? And, there's a big question about how it sounds, Okay, it sounds different. It's warmer if you have the proper equipment. But you know what I figured out? They want to own something.
Yeah.
They want a piece they can look at, they can stare at, they can read it, they can put it away instead of, it just streamed by on my computer. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, look I've said this on previous shows. I'm a throwback. I want to unwrap something. I want to open it. I want to smell it. I want to look at it. I want to hold it in my hands, because you're right. Nowadays, like, too many things just go by really quick. I want to know it's there. I want to know that it's there. So,
zeros and ones.
I'm still a CD. Like, I still love CDs. I have walls and walls of CDs. They're alphabetical. I will walk up to them. I will pull it out. And people say to me, well, don't you have the digital version? Can't you just press play on your, I could. Well, why do you do that? Because I want to open. I want to look. I want to connect with the band and what they look like and what they said. And, I love that stuff. And I think there's a lot of people, and the records, the vinyl, there's a sound that the record makes that people it's more authentic. It's more real. It's like the band's right there with you. We realized that everything got so damn digitally enhanced over the years that when you hear the vinyl, you go, oh yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah,
right?
Well, it's all of the above. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But, like I say, there's good and bad in that as well. Because, like I say, most people's records today, there's no mistakes anymore. They don't make mistakes. Mistakes are gone. It's like a spelling check. When you do the spelling check, there's no reason to have a word you don't spell, because you fix it for you. Well, that's how music is today. We can fix anything.
I know. And part of me always wonders, the very small musician in me always wonders, is it better sometimes to leave that little bit of a hiccup in the song, or do you shave it out? Do you grind it out a little bit and take it away? I don't know. It's one 6 of one, half dozen of the other, as they say. Sometimes you get that little mistake and you're okay because it's kind of authentic and it's real. And then other times you go, well, I want it polished, and it's not professional if we don't do that. So mood maybe, Felix, depending on the situation.
Well, see, this is the thing where we came up with Atlantic Records.
Right.
Atlantic Records was kind of a most R&B jazz label. And the philosophy behind that was, go in the room, sing, play, and I'll record it. Yeah. It's like an event.
Yeah.
See, you capture the event. And that's how I was trained, like brought up like that in the recording industry. Capture that event in time and print it. See,
Yeah.
whereas today, that event takes a month.
Polish it, send the track, polish it, send the track, tweak the track, add a track. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why people still like live concerts because it's live. It's real. You make a mistake, you sneeze, you cough. You God forbid you have Italian meal before you go on stage, you burp. You know what I mean? You got to be real careful. Yeah.
Hey, look, let me ask you. So we're talking about the new album and music, and I'm loving this. Yeah, your new album, Then and Now. You produced it with Mike Sievers, right?
Yes.
And Mike has a long history in the music industry.
Oh,
working
yeah.
with artists. I'm gonna name drop here: Alabama, Tanya Tucker, Kenny Chesney, Steve Winwood, Dolly Parton, Joe Diffie, Sammy Kershaw. It just goes on, right? It goes on. Rod Stewart.
Correct. Yeah.
What does Mike bring to your new album as helping you produce that?
Well, first of all, the joy of making music is alive and well in Mr. Mike Sievers. When the thing is that the band I have now, with the exception of maybe one or two people, because we've been together almost 20 years. These guys.
Oh, Felix?
Stage, and we do start. It's like.
Sorry, yes. I'm going to re-ask that. We got a little hiccup there in the internet. Let me answer that question again, right from the beginning. I lost you just as you were starting to answer it. Do you want me to ask it again?
Please.
Okay, so I'm going to let's do it. 3, 2, 1. So I need to ask you about the production of your new album. It was the album Then and Now. It was produced with Mike Sievers, and I'm going to name drop. Mike has a long history in the music industry, working with artists like Alabama, Tanya Tucker, Kenny Chesney, Steve Winwood, Dolly Parton, Joe Diffie, Sam Kershaw. The list goes on, and Rod Stewart, etc. But what does a guy like Mike Sievers bring to your new album in terms of helping you produce it?
Well, Mike is an extremely talented guitar player. Number one. He's an amazing guitar player who, and he also brings this kind of love of the music. And what I've been saying is that these people that I work with right now, with the exception of one, we've been together almost 20 years. When we hit the stage, he's like a dynamo, and the other thing is his relationship with the artists that he's worked with is really good. I mean, all those people that he worked with, including, like most recently, we might be doing something with Dolly Parton, which I'll explain when the time comes. They just love him. He's a great guy. He's a great player. And he's turning into a great, great producer because he's got a little Macintosh in his studio, man. It's in an attic in Tennessee. And we did two albums together. We did a Christmas album. And then we did this album, and they're pretty good, man. I mean, he's a very talented guy, and he's a joy to work with because he enjoys everything that he's doing.
I mean, that's got to be important. You love what you do, and you've got the relationships. I came to another realization as I was listening to you answer that question, Felix. I think Apple and Mac, Apple, Mac, or whatever, they're going to owe you some sponsorship. Of some kind here, because you're pumping their tires, man. You're giving Apple and Max here free love, right? I gotta get a hold of someone over there and say, hey, look you got a spokesperson over here, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of us do work on a Macintosh, but that doesn't have to be like that. It's just, what I was told many years ago, I don't know if it's true, but the legend went down that the original Apples, they had in their production division a lot of women. So they compiled that computer in a way that really easy for people to use. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's really easy to get onto it, and I think they always cater to artists. It seems to be that way. It's not a business computer per se. It's an artist computer.
I admit we're recording on a Mac right now. All my production happens through a Mac.
Aha.
That's it. All the files get rendered through a Mac. The majority of the software is all Mac software. So you caught me. You caught me, man. You caught me.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to ask you an unfair question, maybe. And most artists say to me, "Oh, come on, Guido." Look, is there a song on your new album that, and I know all your songs are your babies, I get it, but is there a song on your album that you like to perform live above any other? And maybe just from this perspective, like something that is tied to a particular vibe, a particular energy, a particular message, any of the above, Felix, so that we're not singling anything.
Well, of course there is. I mean, there's always stuff that, like rings a little bit differently, The song Higher and Higher, which was a Jackie Wilson tune, trying to follow Jackie Wilson is almost impossible. So basically I decided, well, I'm going to do it a little differently. And, if you listen to the words, there's what they call double entendre, you know what I'm saying? Like it's got a different meaning if you sing it slow and kind of gospel-y, and that's how I did that. So Higher and Higher, it brings a spiritual quality to the music. And I like that one.
When you're doing that and you look out in the audience, are you playing with the audience on that one? Are you drawing them in? Do you see them coming and going with you as you're doing it slower and faster?
Now you're getting into real deep stuff here, bro. This is good. I hope your audience like. When you study music, and you come from a family that basically was extremely religious. I mean, my mom, if there was only 7 days in the week, otherwise, if there was 8, she'd have gone to church 8. There's a connection between the music and whatever you want to call God up there,
Sure.
That it becomes so relevant to most of us that before I go on stage, I try to make that connection first so that I know that I'm downloading and I share that with the audience. It's not Felix Cavaliere, it's all of the above coming right through. So I tried to establish a connection that way, people, they feel that without knowing what that is. And that's fine with me. Because that connection is given, I think it's given to everybody, but some of us have it more than others. You know what I'm saying? And some of it use it more than one of others. Well, that's what I feel. Yes, I connect with them through the above.
We just gave listeners a very raw moment here with Felix, a very transparent moment. And you're right, Felix. Some of us work harder at that. Some of us it comes more naturally. Some of us hear it. Some of us need to be led to hear it. There's all sorts of different ways, right?
The reason it becomes harder because people they don't know about it. It's very simple. You just go, okay, channel 4. I'm in. That's it. It's there, but maybe I'm listening to 5, 6, 7, 8. You might be doing like 212. That's okay, but 4 is still there. It's always there.
I love this. This is so amazing. This is awesome. I'm hoping everybody else, I know they're going to enjoy this. Look at, I understand you mentioned earlier, we said you're heading out on a little bit of a tour per the Rascals. Felix, where are we going? When, are you going to mix in some of your solo material when you do that too? Or is it?
Well, no? That depends, that depends on the show, but I'd like to do that. But like, for example, you got to be careful with that. You remember good old Ricky Nelson, the garden party?
Yeah.
I went to a garden party and oh boy, I like to put at least some of the songs in there, which is one of the reasons why I put songs on the album that were like older and like were kind of well known, so that if I do that, you can kind of get away with it. Oh, but this is my version, I understand when you go to a show, people want to hear, what they know, so they kind of know those songs, they know Higher and Higher, they may not know Soul Love, but maybe they will.
All right. Well, it'll be a surprise. So where are you going? Do we know? Do we have places yet?
Well, we start off like of course we're talking about next year. I said, we got this cruise, and we're filling in the blanks right now for next year. Hopefully, we'll do a lot of the United States, and man, I would love to get up to Canada again.
Yeah,
we enjoyed it so much.
You got to let me know
did.
if you got to let me know if you come up here, or I'll figure it out, and maybe we can get
No,
together.
we'll definitely let you know.
Yeah.
We'll see, because we had such a great time at that theater up there. That was fun.
Felix, before we hit the record button, you and I were just kind of chatting, and you talked about the flower power cruise, and then there's a malt shop cruise, and you're doing some stuff like that too, right? Like, I don't know if everybody knows what those are, and I remiss. I don't want to share them with them, because if I want to go, I don't want them to. I want to buy the tickets before they do, but because they sound really cool. But tell us what those are.
Well, basically, there's a lot of cruise ships that go out. Mostly, they go out of Florida. They go to Florida, go down to the Caribbean. And a lot of musical cruise ships.
Yeah.
The ones that I do, one is called Flower Power. And if you Google that, you take a look at it, you see what it is. It's a collection of groups that go out for approximately 8 days from the 60s and 70s. So in other words, there's music all day and almost all night. And what happens is people get on board and then they lose their mind for 8 days. And they start dressing like they were in the 60s. Sometimes that's very tough to take, but they do it. They dress with the tie-dyes and they wear the hippies. If they don't have hair, they have a blast. And then they come back to shore, and then they're back to their regular lives. But it has become really, 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 really popular. And I think it's Celebrity Cruise Lines that does it. And, if you look it up, it's very hard to get tickets for, because they're sold out so much in advance. But there's quite a few of these cruises.
And you're the one you're doing is it in March, maybe? Is that?
Yeah, at the end of March, usually it is. And it's called the Flower Power. And then Power. Okay. And then there's another one that takes place, I think, in the latter part of the year, called the Malt Shop Cruise. And the Malt Shop Cruise is older, 50s and 60s. They got the doo-wop groups, and then they've got the R&B tour, and then they got the romance tour. People love it. I mean, they go on this ship and they just let it go, man. They just enjoy. And of course, they stop in various islands, and, you go over there and shop, and, you can swim, and then you get back on the boat. But it's really fun.
I'd be boat hopping. Those all sound great to me, so I'd be boat hopping. I love that idea, so I got to look those things up. Felix, look, at your accolades are many. 4 #1 hits, 10 top 20 singles, 6 top 20 albums. You've got a Grammy nomination, inducted into 4 Hall of Fames. Any advice for new artists out there? Like, you're with the accolades and even just your life experiences, and some of which you've been sharing, your authenticity with us today. Any advice for folks out there?
Well, I wrote this book a while back called Memoir of a Rascal. And it started off, I was just talking about, the group and all that. And I said, wait a minute, man, maybe people want to know what happened.
Yeah.
I had absolutely no idea that I was going to be in the music business. I told you the story earlier about, going to Germany. I just want them to know that, first of all, you got to develop your talent. I mean, you can have talent, but I really advise studying as much as you can, learn as much as you can before you go into the music business. No music. I mean, it's not a joke. It's an art. And if it's going to happen, take a look around, see if a door opens. If the door opens, go in. I'm just going to tell you, it's a very difficult career these days, and it's very crowded. But once you do it, look out, because you're going to get hooked. And you got to be realistic about it, because, the advice, I can always give advice. I mean, a lot of people make their music, as we spoke earlier, on their computers, but it's very important to play in front of people, because there's a relationship between you and that audience that does a lot of good things for you, in learning and in kind of knowing what goes over, what you're good at, training, is stage presence. So play live and write. I think writing is the gift, or if you can meet somebody that that writes and doesn't sing too well, that's a good relationship. But there's a lot of aspects to the music business, and it's hard to give advice to young people because we all want to kind of do the same thing, get on the stage and, rock and roll. But there's a lot of jobs in the music industry. For example, people don't maybe not know, but the people who write the music for video games, they're multimillionaires.
Yeah.
Nobody knows their name, but they're multimillionaires. The bank knows their name. There's a lot of different aspects of the music industry besides being on stage, and it's hard for a lot of people to take because you can play in your spare time, but you can also make money making music for a lot of things, computers, video, commercials. There's a lot of ways.
Some good advice there from our music icon tonight, Felix Cavaliere. Felix, you talked about your book, Memoir of a Rascal. Available on Amazon?
Yes.
Available on Amazon. What made you come up with, I'm going to put the book together? Was it just a reflection or
No, what happened was this, I mentioned that tour we did with Van Zandt, Once Upon a Dream. We did the Broadway and came up to Toronto. Yeah. Well, during that tour, it was the four of us were on the tour, the four. And we had press conferences. And the people would, come and they'd ask questions of each of us. Everybody had a different answer for the same question. So I said, wait a second. I could have sworn I was there. Yeah, was I there? I think I was there. So I started to write this book. And then I realized, really, seriously, now, I've been here a lot of years. 5 years with the Rascals, maybe 6. That's it. What about the other years? Maybe somebody wants to know about that. So that's how it happened.
Right on.
And I said, okay, the title is From Pelham, New York, which is where I grew up, to the Hall of Fame. Maybe somebody would like to know how that happened to this kid from, it's right near the Bronx, right near Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, and New York. But there's a story there, and I just thought people would like to know. That's how it started.
And we just finished talking about advice for others and artists and even just, life. And, if you're a writer and you want to write a book, you often turn to some of the writers and see how they wrote the book. And if you're a mechanic, you learn from other mechanics. And I think, your book is part of that. You want to learn a little bit about how it happened and some of the things that you saw and did. You buy Memoirs of a Rascal from Felix Cavaliere. So that's on Amazon. Thank you. Where's the best place to get your new album or read more about you, Felix, or the vinyl? Where do we get all that stuff?
Well, the easiest place is FelixCavalieremusic.com. That's the easiest place. Come to a show. We usually sell there, and we're probably on Amazon and Apple Music and Spotify and all those things as well. I mean, people really don't have a tendency to buy too much from those sites. They listen. Yeah. But if you like to have the copy, it's worth it because it's pretty.
In our hand. FelixCavalieremusic.com. We're going to put that in the show notes.
Yeah, thank you.
Look, man, this is, I don't know that you understand how much of a pleasure and honor it has been to have you here chatting with me today. And I've chewed away a lot of your time asking questions and sharing your story with our listeners. Before we close out our segment, is there anything else that you would like to leave us with? I know you mentioned Dolly Parton. I don't know if that's something or if there's anything else that you want to talk about.
Well, we are trying to do something for our Hawaiian friends who had that tragedy over there in the fire. And we're trying to get that out. And I wrote a song years ago called My Hawaii. And we're trying to get that as a duet we're trying to get that out there. And something, it's hard to do something for nothing these days, man. You want to do something for a goodwill, a mitzvah, or just a good, but we'll get it out there. And hopefully you'll know about that. Right now I can't release it because we have to just be patient. But what I want to say is thank you. And I really mean it. Number one, I want to come back to Toronto. Number two, when you come here, I want to take you and your wife to dinner. That's the deal.
Okay, done. As long as when you come up to Toronto, as long as I can do that for you, and we'll do like a little special hello to all the listeners and stuff like that.
That's the deal, Guido. I totally enjoyed it with you. God bless you, man. And thank you for pronouncing my name right.
Peace, love, and happiness. We have been chatting with Felix Cavaliere of the Rascals fame. Felix has taken us on a road trip as we explore then and now and revisited some memories along the way as he helped us get on home. He is still grooving, and if there's any doubt about that, you just have to ask Marianne, who attests that your love keeps lifting me higher and higher. Whether you're searching for love or soul love, Felix has you covered from wherever you are to Spanish Harlem. He is a multi-Hall of Fame award winner, a music icon. Stay tuned to hear some of Felix's new songs right here on the Monthly Social and on the Path Radio Mix, Toronto's music mix maverick. Thank you, Felix, for being here with us tonight. Thank you for your music. Thank you for continuing to inspire musicians and entertain fans around the world. I will have all of Felix's contact info in the show notes. Wishing you continued success. Looking forward to seeing you in person. Take care, Felix.
Thank you again, Guido. Appreciate it.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
That was a great conversation with Felix Cavaliere of the Rascals. I hope you enjoyed it too. Let's enjoy some music and stay tuned because I'm going to play some of the music off of Felix's new album. But first, let's take a step back and listen to some hits with the Rascals and Felix, and here's Good Lovin'.
1, 2, 3. Good love. Good love. Good love. Good love. I was feeling so bad. I asked my family doctor just what I had. I said, doctor, Mr. MD. Now can you tell me what ailing me? You said Indeed, all I really need. Good love. Now give me that good love. All I need is love. Good love, baby, good love. Now honey, please. Squeeze me tight. Don't you want, baby, to be alright? I said, baby, now it's for sure. I got the fever, yeah. You got the cure. Everybody, yeah. Indeed, all I really need. Now come on, now give me that love. All I need is love. Good love, baby, good love.
That is Felix Cavaliere and the Rascals with their hit, Good Lovin'. All right, listen, before we get to our next segment in the show, let's hear from one of our friends of the podcast, Chasers Fresh Juice.
Hi, I'm Richard Chase, introducing Chasers Fresh Juice, a local business in Toronto. We've been in business for over 20 years, initially supporting our local Toronto area and now servicing all of Canada. Chasers provides fresh organic juices, ingredients including citrus zest, dehydrated garnishes, and fresh citrus peels to enhance any cocktail or recipe you can think of. We have successfully supplied restaurants, distilleries, craft breweries, and bakeries across the country. Reach out to orders@chasersjuice.com for any questions you may have. We are a customized fresh juice company, and I'm sure we can help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, at Chasers Fresh Juice, which is really the best juice I've ever had. Now, before we continue to our next segment, I will have a guest speaker, Super Julie Braun, and we captured way more content than we anticipated to. So here's what I'm going to do. You're going to get a good portion of that content here, but you're going to get some extra bonus content if you head on over to our YouTube channel. So youtube.com/@themonthlysocial, and you will get the rest of the interview. But don't worry, I still got a lot that I'm covering right here on the Monthly Social with Super Julie as we talk about your careers and your pay and getting what you want out of a career and your pay, and some advice and some information that she's got based on years of experience now and the work that she's been doing with her colleagues and clients. So let's go to that segment. I hope you enjoy it. If you wanted to have the career and salary that you believe you deserve, then please have a listen as I welcome to the Monthly Social, Super Julie Braun, known to some as simply SJ for Super Julie. She has helped millions of people grow and achieve the career of their dreams. SJ is a career expert who works with the Fortune 500 companies and career seekers across multiple genres and interests. If you're thinking she can't help you, maybe you'll find some comfort in knowing that she's worked with veterans, stay-at-home parents, immigrants, those with personal struggles, disabilities, and more. She's here for you today. And stay tuned, because at the end, SJ is going to have a special treat for us. Welcome to the show, Super Julie. How are you today?
Hey, thank you, Guido. How are you?
I'm fantastic. My day just keeps getting better, and it just got even better when we started talking tonight. So,
oh, thank you. Yeah, me too. Me too. I was looking forward to this.
So look at I said to you, Super Julie SJ, right? The little acronym there.
Yep. Please call me SJ.
How did we become Super Julie?
It was about close to 20 years ago. And I started my first business, or no, actually my second business, called superinterns.com. And we had a lot of interns. We would bring interns and companies together and form really amazing relationships that the interns needed the experience, the companies needed the help. And through those marriages, we helped people leverage, that experience so they could turn it into a job. One of my teammates, we never call our interns, we always call them teammates. One of my teammates started calling me Super Julie. And every time I would just kind of smile and laugh, and it made me feel good. And the co-founder of superinterns.com, her name's Michelle Demers, she turned to me and she said, you should probably change your name. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah, because you really are Super Julie. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and I just think it really fits. So after it kind of picked up a little steam and it went on for a long time, and I started doing speaking engagements, and I would call myself Super Julie Braun, and people would always get a big laugh out of it. I have so many stories where I caught people making fun of me in an elevator. It was with a bunch of attorneys, and they were all kind of laughing. Like I had taken my hair down. I took off my sweater. I probably looked different to them. They didn't even recognize me. And they were kind of like, she was really fun and funny. They were saying nice things about me. But then one of them said, but really, who calls themselves Super Julie? And I'm right there in the back of the elevator listening to this. And so as soon as the elevator opened, I ran out to the other side and I said, I do. And they were like, oh. So yeah, it's Super Julie is a little over the top, but I'm flesh and bone. I'm, her feelings. I'm a mess sometimes. I have fears, but Super Julie does not. So that's why I go by SJ.
I was waiting for you to say I ran out the other side of the elevator and went like this and exposed the Super Julie symbol. But pretty close.
Yeah.
That's a great story. And
It's funny.
no, that's a great story. And so it's interesting because you kind of went into the, you know what? Super Julie also has all these other parts of her, all these other things, and that, you're super, and you are like you're super, but there's other things that, in your life, and sometimes they affect us in different ways. And so I want to get more into how you're helping other people with super purposes. But before we do that, and leading up to that, you had to overcome some of your own challenges. You had to overcome a learning disability of auditory processing disorder and dyslexia.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I'm hoping you're comfortable. I have several questions about it.
Yeah.
Are you okay with it?
Oh yeah, totally.
No, and I'm just asking because I know you and I talked before we hit the record button here, and I kind of said to you, growing up myself, I realized much later I had some learning challenges, and people made fun of me, et cetera, and we didn't talk about it very often, or we were afraid to talk about it. And so I'm sensitive to the fact that sometimes everybody's like, yeah, okay, but can we talk about this other thing now? But you're okay.
I'm all about it. I was 16 years old before I found out. And so it was the first time I ever got tested. Actually, Guido, I don't think there was a test. I'm 60 years old today, now. But when I was 16 years old, I got tested, and I remember walking home. I got tested at school, and I remember walking home, and I just bawled my head off. I just wept with so much emotion. And I was feeling all kinds of different feelings, but mostly I was feeling relief. Because now I had a name. There was a reason why. Because when I was when I was 5, 6 years old, I was told, you're stupid. You're going to have to work hard. I mean, my parents would tell me, you're going to have to work really hard because, you're not doing so great in school. And I struggled and struggled. But here is the other side of it now. I can now look back and I can say that having dyslexia and an auditory processing disorder is the reason why I've been so successful in leadership. You're spending your entire day just trying to get through the day. And so I knew that I had to delegate my most difficult tasks to the smarty pants in the room. Like, I'd make friends. My social game was really good. I knew how to, charm people. And so I got these strengths in areas that now I'm able to use as a leader, as an entrepreneur. And it also taught me process thinking, because in order for me to get through the day, I had to kind of have, okay, number 1, do this. Number 2, do that. Number 3, do that. So everything was here's what you're going to have to do to make it through the day. And today, everything I work on has a process. People come to me and say, where do I start? And I'm like, well, number 1, you're going to have to do this. Then the second thing that I would do would be that. And I immediately go into that mode. And it's really been, it's been a bit of a revelation that the thing that was my biggest struggle or liability is now probably one of my greatest assets.
One of your greatest strengths. SJ, when did you realize that you were doing these things because of your disability, and then go, it's okay that I'm doing these things because of my disability, because I'm getting results? Did that happen later in life, or?
I think it was much later, when I could kind of look back and go, oh, yeah. Now that makes perfect sense. Well, I just, I think it's so interesting because we all learn differently. And when we're weak in one area, that usually means that we're going to be strong in another area.
So look, let me ask you, because you said to me, well, like others around me, how about others around you, like your learning disability? Were others around you aware that you had it? And if they were, did they treat you differently before and after?
I had a teacher very early on that I had her, I want to say I had her both in kindergarten and first grade. And by the time I got into first grade, she already knew that I had a lot of problems in kindergarten. So I remember she gave me a bag, and she wrote on it, like Julie's bag, oh tricks, something like that, in pen. And I don't remember what was in there, maybe flashcards, there were some things in there, but she gave me a mirror, a little hand mirror, so I could hold it up to my work and I could see the letters that were backwards. Wow. So she knew enough to think that way. But again, I don't think they actually had a diagnosis for it until I was in my teens.
Wow.
So she was, she was somebody that I recall and, have to give her credit for helping me out in those very formative years.
We have some of those people in our lives that we want to give credit to for doing those things.
Yeah.
So you know what? And talking about giving credit and helping, somebody helped you, somebody helped me. Now you're helping others. At some point you decide you want to help others. Yeah. Your website right now is called superpurposes.com.
Yeah.
And you say that you aim to take the fear and formality out of career. Yeah. And that with your innovative, unconventional online courses, you will help millions of people find the job and salary they love and deserve. And if I could underscore if I could do air underscores, they love and deserve. Was Super Purposes born out of your personal achievements in having overcome some of your challenges?
It was born out of, when I left corporate America, because I worked for a lot of big companies, and I started my first business, started my second business, superinterns.com. Every intern that I would ever get, I would say, well, why are you doing an internship? I mean, you could do a lot of things. 200 hours is how many hours that they say they're going to do. And, you could have taken classes, you could have gone to the beach, you could have done many, many things, but you decided to do an internship, and I want to know why. And every single one of them said the same thing: to get experience. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So my follow-up question was always, why do you want to get experience? Well, because I want to get the job. And then they would go on to explain whatever the job was to them.
Right.
And so I knew through my own career path that I had made mistakes like everybody. I had had some incredible successes. And I knew the formula. Again, here's the process thinking, right? I had broken down the formula of how to get a job that will pay you what you deserve, will help you work in an environment that you were honored and loved and cared for, and have a job that has meaning. And so when we pivoted from superinterns.com to Super Purposes, I was like, okay, now we're going to ratchet up because we understand the interns. So now we're going to go for the people who want the career. And that's really where it all kind of came from. I have to say, I also got sober 10 years ago. And that was another awakening for me, because I decided that I wanted to live my life differently. And because of that, I found my own liberation and freedom. I discovered that I would no longer be tied to material things, which I have been previously. And so I've really, my life has changed so much in 10 years. It's like I'm a totally different person. In a lot of ways, I'm still the same, but I'm very, very, very different. And when I found and discovered my own freedom and liberation from things, it made me want to help others find their liberation, to help them find their own freedom. And very often that's tied to work. That's tied to having a job, feeling, because a lot of people work in jobs and they're kind of like, yeah, I just clock in and clock out. It's not really meaningful. I just collect the paycheck. I often hear people say, oh, I live for the weekends, or I work hard so I can play hard. Every time I hear that, it's like a knife in my heart. I just think you got it exactly backwards. You shouldn't be working 5 days, 40 or 50 hours a week to celebrate 2 days on the weekend so you can go out to brunch and, party or, whatever it is that you do. It needs to be the opposite. And so getting all of that, I knew that we were going to create something that is really, really different, and taking the fear and formality out of career. It has been remarkable how many people are stuck in that traditional, I've got to interview, somebody asks them a question, they answer, and then they wait for the next question, which is like the most awkward silence in the conversation. And they're not saying, now, why did you ask me that question? Like, right. What's your problem and what do you want to solve? Which, if they asked that question, they would get an answer that would inform them what the employer exactly is looking for. And when you create a dialogue between your interviewer, I think what happens, what transforms, is they start thinking about you as a colleague. And they start thinking, I wonder if Guido would like to play on our softball team. We need a backstop. I wonder if he could play backstop. So that's what we want to develop when we're in our careers. We want to develop those kinds of relationships. We want to develop them in the interview process, because you're going to be working with those people soon. Anyway, I know I went totally off track.
No, you didn't actually. You didn't, because your transition and connection is wonderful. First, I have to say congratulations and thank you for sharing. Sober 10 years. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You talked about super interns, and when I was listening to, as you transitioned from super interns to super purposes, super interns, you seemed very focused on the role of the intern, the individual. And then as you transition to super purposes, you've transitioned to the core of the individual. What makes up the individual, so that you become part of a team, and so that you have a larger purpose, and that you are connected. Now, this is my interpretation as I'm listening to you talk, and I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times. And I'm okay. If I'm wrong and you want to correct me, go ahead. But that's what I was just thinking. That's what I was thinking is your transition as you went from one to the one that you have right now, and you're working with people.
Yeah. I think the thing that felt very natural is people don't have the answer when they start looking for a job. So we had all these interns and they were getting experience, but they still didn't know how to interview. They didn't even know where to start. They didn't know that LinkedIn is the billboard for your career, and a resume really doesn't matter. So they didn't know that. And that's something that we teach. And people are like, really? I need a resume every time I fill out an online application. And that's when I would say, that's your second problem.
Right.
Because you should never fill out an online application.
Right.
That's the worst way to find a job.
Stop looking for a job, find a career, right?
That's right. That's right. And so, for example, if I wanted to work for you, I would start looking at all your social media. I would watch all of your podcasts. I would make friends with you on LinkedIn. And eventually I would say, hey, I'd love to meet with you for 15 minutes.
Right.
I'm available on Friday between 3 and 5. What works for you? And you're either going to be a yes or a no, or I'm not going to hear from you.
Right.
But either way, I'm going to start to develop the relationship. And it's in developing the relationships that we find ourselves then getting those jobs that we really, really want, with people who are doing the work that we can align with, and that we have a soul connection, a value connection, and oh my gosh, this is meaningful, instead of going online and saying, I'm looking for any job opening that has this title. That's the worst way to look for a job.
It's transactional. It becomes transactional.
Yeah.
And I think if you're buying transaction, you have to expect that when you're there, you're going to get transaction. You're not going to get an understanding of your family and your life and your day to day, and it's just not going to be there. You've achieved transaction is what you've achieved.
Yeah. I think the thing that comes up for me as well is you don't know anything about those companies. And, we work with a lot of people in the LGBTQIA community. And I will often tell our clients, do not try to get a job where they don't like you. Like, don't try to get a job at Chick-fil-A or Hobby Lobby. Don't go there. Go where you are going to be honored. And you know where you're going to be honored? Fortune 500 companies. Because most Fortune 500 companies have a diversity, inclusion, equity. They understand that they need a lot of diversity, a lot of, people that are different from each other to have a very successful company.
Right.
So those are the kind of conversations that I have with folks. And it's a change of thought. So instead of filling out, 100 applications that you never get a single phone call to, instead, I would rather that you make 100 connections where you want to work.
You made me think of, I went to this interview one time. I want to share this with you. I went to this interview. Sorry. I went to a lunch. I didn't know that I was going to an interview. I thought that the hiring manager, he said to me, let's go for lunch. And then at 1:00, we'll go have the interview. And so, okay. And so we go for lunch and he starts talking to me and he starts asking, and this was with one of the big computer companies in the world. Okay. And we go to lunch and he starts talking to me. He asked me about my family. He asked me about my parents, my upbringing. He asked me what some of my life goals were, what some of the things I wanted to buy, or some of the things that I thought I was planning to buy and things like that. Yeah. We have a wonderful lunch. We're talking back and forth. He tells me about his family and, his background and, where he came from and all that. At the end of the lunch, he looks at me and he says, so what do you think? You want to come work for us? And I looked at him and I said, we're going to go do the interview still. And he's like, you just did. And I said, huh? Right now, I'm going back. This is a long time ago, right? I'm older than I look. so this goes back a long time. But at the end of that, he says and I said, and my immediate reaction was, but wait, your job at the advertisement, you have all these other technologies. And I don't know any of those. Like I haven't worked with any of those. Are you sure you want me? Like, and you're looking behind, are you talking to me? Right. And
you were talking yourself out of the job.
I was because I'm thinking to myself, I have to explain to this man all the things I don't know how to do from a technology perspective versus all the things I was prepared to tell him I did know how to do. And he looked at me and said, all those things that you think you can't do, or you tell me you don't know how to do, you're going to learn. I'm going to send you on training. You have the background. I know that you know how to learn. I'm not worried about that. All the things that we've talked about, and he actually said this to me, like at the end of all the things that we talked about here at lunch, that's what I need. I can't interview somebody and learn what I learned from you. And I need that person in this job. The other stuff you'll learn. And then he threw a number out at me and I went, are you talking to me? Right?
My gosh.
SJ, he was. And so you made me think about that, right? Because sometimes we get so hung up on the right answer and the checklist answer. And sometimes when you go to those and you have those types of conversations, and I was thinking to myself, I really like this man. He's really sensible and down to earth. Man, he'd be so great to work with. I like his family background and the way he treats people. Gosh, this would be so, in the back of my head, this would be so nice. And that's what he was doing, right? And that's where I knew that's a fit. It was a fit.
It was a total fit. And he was doing something so forward thinking. You know, people are getting that now, but back then I'm sure that was very rare. I mean, it's rare now, but
that was 2001.
Okay. That's 20 something years.
Right.
22. Wow. I think I can do the math. 22 years.
Right. Wow.
It reminds me of, it reminds me of this book. Oh my gosh. And who was the guy? I'm totally forgetting his name right now, but he's a restaurateur and he wrote this book about the hospitality industry.
Okay.
And he said, I can teach you how to, deliver a plate of food. I can teach you how to cut up vegetables, but I cannot teach you how to be kind to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the gentleman that you interviewed with was really watching. He wanted to know what you were made of. What kind of person, what type of qualities.
And I didn't even, and he was so good. I didn't even know. I just really thought we're having lunch. Right.
Yeah.
Look, just as we're talking about this stuff too, on your website, and we use the words, you and I have already used the words job and career, but I think I know what you mean. On your website, you say, look, I can help you get a job in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you do to help people achieve that? And because you've already sort of scratched the surface on some of those things, but what's different about what you do? And this is the important part, that will give them that confidence. Because at the end of the day, we can have procedure and we could try to be ourselves, but how we present ourselves, how we listen, it's confidence, right? How do you give them that confidence? What are some of those things that you do?
We make sure that people practice a lot. And we give them kind of a formula and a toolkit of being able to write 5 stories. So everybody out there who is looking for a job, I want you to write 5 stories. 5 stories. Yeah. And the 5 stories will start first with, it's actually modeled after the STAR method, but we call it START because we do something very special in the last step.
To find out what you need to do with your 5 stories and Super Julie's START method, I'm going to ask you to head on over to the youtube.com/@themonthlysocial. I'll have the video portion of this interview up soon, and you'll be able to see the whole interview. We're going to take a quick break, hear from one of our friends of the podcast, Lee's Fine Cars, and then come back and connect with Super Julie on additional great career and pay advice. All right, stay tuned.
Whether it's buying a new car or a quick oil change, Lee's Fine Cars and Service Center has got you covered. proudly serving the GTA for over 30 years as your one-stop automotive source for sales, service, and bodywork. Come visit us at 87 Green Lane, conveniently located just south of Bayview and 407, or online at leesfinecars.com.
All right, let's reconnect now with Super Julie. You made me think of so many things in the last little while. So many things. And I kept thinking to myself, man, she's giving away all this free advice. And you are completely right. I want to give something free, and I want your opinion on it. Okay. I want to give everybody something that I've done that's free. And then here's your opinion. After that, in preparing for the interview, and you talked about the mirror and things like that. I have recorded myself using my phone, my smartphone. I have recorded myself into files. And so, you know how you talk about having those situations? So I record each situation, how I would answer it, but I record the version of my answer that I say, yeah, that's the one. That's the one I want to practice and deliver. And then instead of, at night, if you sometimes you go watch TV or something like that, instead of that, I would put on my earphones and I would play it back and I would hear myself give the answer. And that's what I did on my break. I listened to myself give the answer. And then I thought, is that it? And okay, now I would say this and now I would say that. And that was my practice. When I was driving in the car, I would listen to myself give the answer. I'd ask the question, give the answer. And then I would take them and I'd mix them so that it wasn't always the same questions in the same order. I would shuffle. I'd ask myself the question and I'd hear the answer. And that was just one of the strategies. Now I say I'm giving this away for free too, because as we're talking about that, I thought, I wonder what SJ thinks about that.
I like it. I like anything that works for you. And so for some people, they need more reinforcement. For other people, they just need a couple tries before they knock it out of the park. I don't know why I'm using all these baseball analogies today. It's very weird.
It is October baseball.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's why. I don't know. It's still very odd for me. Let
me ask this too, because you kind of, as we were going into that, SJ, you talked about negotiations.
Yeah.
And that's when you made me think, you use the term, the salary you deserve.
Yeah.
And what is the salary that people should have in mind when you say the salary they deserve? And that first offer comes in. How do we know? How do we know what that salary that we deserve is?
Well, most people make this mistake. Here's another hot tip. Most people make the mistake where they go through the interview process without even knowing what the salary range is.
Right.
So everybody, don't ever do that. When a recruiter calls you and they say, oh, we have a job for you. And, you're, oh, that's great. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Okay. So I just have a couple questions. First of all, can you send me the job description? I want to see that. Also, what is the salary range?
Right.
Ask your recruiter. That's what the recruiter is there for. You just have to ask them early on. And they'll say, oh, it's $70,000 to $90,000 a year. Let's just say that's, the range. So you're already walking into the interview knowing, okay, I can make 70 to 90. What am I worth? For some people, they may know I'm kind of new to this. I haven't been around that long. I don't have a ton of experience. $70,000 would be remarkable. I'm going to take, if they offer me 70, I'll take it. And that will be and make them feel. And if they feel good about it, then that's in alignment. For other people who have worked harder, have more years of experience, who know how to solve a problem in a second, whereas other people are going to have to do research and, figure out processes and all of that. They might come to the situation going, oh, I'm 90 and above. I wonder if I can get them into six figures, right? That's what they need to be thinking.
And then you go into the negotiation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only after you get the job offer.
Right.
Another mistake that people make. They negotiate way before they're offered the job. I have a friend who is a chef, and she's also a river guide. So she does these fantastic river guide, take people on tours down the river, and then she cooks them this amazing outdoor campsite, super swank meal. Anyway, she had just finished going to culinary school, and she wanted to get kind of a job to exercise the skills that she had learned. And in her local town, she saw a notice that said, we're hiring, sous chefs and this and that. And so she sent them an email. It had an email. It said, submit your resume to this email. So she sent them an email, and she started negotiating in the email. She's like, I'd like to work from 6 until maybe 12 noon. I definitely have to take Wednesdays off. I prefer to work, 4 days a week instead of, and she gave them all of her criteria. And I was like, Emily, do not negotiate before you have the job offered. She goes, oh, I'm such an ass.
You know what? Every time you tell, you make me think of, again, so many experiences that I've had. Look at when I want to share this with you, SJ. When I was in university, I needed a job. I needed a little part-time job, and it was so hard to get a job. And I was trying to be the perfect interview person, right? Like I was like, yes, I do this, and yes, I'll be on time, and yeah, like just trying to give all the canned answers possible. Nothing was working. I could not land a job. I finally have this one last interview. It was a place. I don't think it's around anymore. It used to be called Smith Books. It was a bookstore in a mall. And I go to this interview, and I'm like, you know what? I've been trying the traditional way over and over and over. It's not working. I was just at my end. And so I go, and I still remember her name, Edna. If you're still out there, Edna, it was a wonderful interview. I had such fun. Edna, she asked all the questions. I gave her all the answers. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm listening to her, I'm like, man, I could do this. I just got to put some books on the shelf and work a cash register. I know I could do this job, right? I just need a job. So the interview's over, and she's, so thank you so much for coming. And I have my little day planner, because at the time we didn't have, smartphones or anything, right? Again, date myself. So I opened my day planner, and she goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm just looking at my schedule, Edna. And here's the thing. I can start working on Friday. I said, you need somebody, and I'm capable, and I have all the skills and experience that you need. And if we could just today, right now, here, I could end your search. You could put my name down, and I can tell you I'm available for the first Friday shift. And this look of, I don't know what to say to this guy, comes over Edna's face. She just looks at me and says, well, thank you. I need a little bit of time. Let me get back to you, but I really appreciate your enthusiasm. And I said, so we don't want to write it down right now, Edna? It would be great for both of us. And she goes, I can't do that just yet. But she goes, let me give you a call. And I say, okay, Edna. I said, here's my card. Here's my number. I'll be looking forward to your call. I'm going to keep this day open because I know you're going to call me, and we're going to start on this day. And I leave. And I'm thinking to myself, that was it. That was my last shot. I got no other interviews. I don't know what I'm going to do. I needed this job. I drove home. It was about a half-hour drive to my apartment. I walk in the door, and the phone rings, and it's Edna. And she says, hey, I'm good if you're good. Friday at 3. I'm like, see you then. Thanks, Edna.
I love it. You actually, that could have backfired.
Totally.
But actually your bravado probably just charmed her a whole lot.
Or I was the last candidate. She had nobody.
Well, and you were probably the best candidate. People don't give jobs. I mean, sometimes, I guess some people do you just want a warm body. So every once in a while, they'll just be like, hire anybody.
Yeah.
But that is very funny. So there you were negotiating before the job.
I was negotiating at the end of it.
It worked out in your favor.
I look back at that and I go, it was probably a very disruptive approach for the times.
Extremely. You are a renegade.
I might have been, right? Like for all the wrong reasons. For all the reasons
you still are. Yeah, don't put that in past tense.
Are you disruptive in any way in terms of what you're doing with careers and the employment industry right now?
I know we are. I did a consultation last week Friday with a company, a career company, that they're probably a $20 million company, $25 million company.
Yeah.
They're doing okay. They had a lot of career coaches in the room. They were, they were walking me through their business. They were asking me, what my thoughts were. And what I was hearing was a lot of what we see and experience in the career industry. It's more of the same. Unfortunately, recruiters, HR people, the hiring process, most of it is broken. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
Most of it's broken. I want you to put your hands 1 foot away from each other. Well, what we call the foot. What do you call it there in Canada? A foot? Okay.
So I'm probably wrong, but it's a foot.
Okay, but look at how narrow that is, right? That's pretty narrow. So now imagine, okay, you can put your hands down now. There you go. Now imagine you and 179 other people are trying to get through a door this wide. You're all trying to cram through, and that's what people do when they fill out an online application.
Yeah.
It's an average of 180 applicants for one job. Now, on the other side of the door, only 20% of the job opportunities are posted online. So you have 180 people on this side, only 20% of the jobs on that side. You can see that that is not a great ratio. But if you turned a little bit, I'm going to turn to my left. If you turn to the left, there's this huge wide door. There's almost zero competition, maybe you and one other person. And 80% of the job opportunities are through that door. So the problem with most career companies is they're trying to get people to go through this scenario instead of teaching them how to go through that scenario. That's where we're really different. I don't ever want any of our clients filling out an online application. I'm like, well, if you have to, you can, but it's not how I would ask you to spend your time. I want you to spend your time doing other activities. I'll give them the activities. We will teach them what they are that are much more productive and that will deliver them to the companies that they want to work for. I can always tell when I'm working with a client or a group of people, when I ask this question, where do you want to work? Or who do you want to work with? And their answer is, well, just anyone. I already know that they're on a road that's going to be really bumpy. Mm-hmm. It's going to be filled with a lot of detours, flat tires. It's not going to be a fun ride. So I think what we try to teach people, we do teach people, is identify what matters to you, find companies that align with that. And we have a whole process on how to do that. We take people down an innovation rabbit hole, which is super fun. It's so much fun. And when they discover where they want to work and the sort of people they want to work with, or, sometimes there's people that they're like, oh, I admire that person. I'd love to work with them. When we find out that, now it's like you are shooting at a target that you can hit. Yeah. And we practice, and inevitably those people end up working for the companies that they want to work for, working with the people that they want to work with. It's a different way of going about it. But yeah, I think that's what we're doing. We are avoiding the applicant tracking system. That's what every application that is filled out online is never seen by a human being. It goes into a software program. And if I'm a recruiter and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 180 people applied for this job. I just need, 3 candidates. So now I'm typing and I'm filtering and I'm like, okay, I'm going to say, okay, you have to have 5 years experience. Okay, now I'm going to say you have to be within a 30-mile radius of this office. I'm starting to filter down, and I will get down to my 3 candidates.
Right.
But they're probably not the best candidates. They're just people that fell within the filters of what I put into my computer machine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's you're 110% accurate on that.
Oh, I'm a little bit more.
150. Yeah, you are. Like, it's off the charts, right? And you know what, SJ, I've been on both sides, and you're right. Like, you haven't said anything. Like, you're right. That's all I can say is you're right. And you know what the other piece was? If this is a target, you hit the target. You talked about values, and you could play that numbers game. You could play that online application numbers game. You can go ahead, but if you go for something, if you look at an organization and you say they share my values, I can go work there because I have the confidence and courage, and I know that I can persevere, and they align with my everyday values. Your entire career experience is different. It is different.
Totally. Right? I tell a story about this kid named Roger who loved college football. And when he got out of college, he started calling all of these NFL teams. There were only 13 teams at the time across America. So it was a long time ago. Yeah. But he'd call and he'd say, hey, my name's Roger and I want to intern for you. And, phone call after phone call, everyone's hanging up. Finally, he calls the New York office, the main office. He gets somebody on the phone and they go, yeah, if you're in the area, come on in and we'll talk to you. So Roger gets in his like Toyota Tercel, and he drives overnight so he can show up in New York. I think he was coming from Pennsylvania or Ohio, something like that. And he shows up and he walks in, and, he's got his suit on and everything. And he's like, hi, I'm Roger, and I was in the neighborhood. So the marketing guy that had spoken to him said, okay, well, let's go out for lunch. And he gave Roger the internship. That internship turned into a PR position, which turned into a bigger position and a bigger position and bigger position. And today, Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the NFL.
Wow, eh? What a story.
This was somebody who targeted where he wanted to work. I mean, I know it's kind of like a Cinderella story.
Well, but you could take away from it. There's things that Roger did there that are not conventional things, right?
Right.
And we're playing a little bit of badminton here, or tennis, or whatever you want. We're hitting the ball back and forth with each other, SJ, because you made me think of a story. I had a family member who said, I want to go work at this financial institution. And I said, okay. And they said, I'm going to fill in this online application. And I said to them, don't do that. I said, don't do it. And they said, well, what should I do? And I said, well, let's look at what the opportunity is. And we looked at the opportunity, and I know you don't like resumes, but I said, here's what we're going to do. He didn't have an online presence. I said, well, he might have had a different online presence, but that's not the online presence we wanted. So we customized the resume, and we customized the resume so that it introduced him, and it had the colors of the financial institution, and it really branded him as an individual who could integrate into that financial institution. And then he says, okay, so I'm going to submit this. And I said, no, you're going to walk it in. You're going to go to that financial institution, and you're going to walk in, you're going to ask to see the manager, and you're going to walk it in, and you're going to introduce yourself, and you're going to tell them your name clearly and out loud, and what your goals are in your introduction in 15 seconds. And he kind of looked at me and was like, I don't know. I'm like, trust me, just do this. Anyways, he calls me back about a week and a half later, and he says, you're not going to believe it. So what? He goes, I got offered a job. Like, it's a starting position. Now, he's been working with this financial institution for a few years now.
Yeah.
All right. And it was just the branding and the approach and all that. Now, he shared, this is funny, he shared his original resume that I helped him do with the branding with some of his friends, right? And because they're like, well, you did this and you, so he's like, well, yeah, this is the resume that I used. And they tried to use the same resume. They tried to use the same thing, and they forgot to change his name. And so they submitted his name with their experiences.
How many other job offers did he get?
Right. so it was just so funny. And you know, and he's like, and the institution kind of was like, this looks familiar, right? Like this looks like a familiar product. So guys, girls out there, know what you're handing in. If you act like a transaction, you're going to be treated like a transaction, right? But SJ, like I say, you're bang on. And I'm just a small guy trying to help out a few family and friends when we do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's so encouraging to hear all the things that you're teaching and how you're being disruptive in that field.
Thank you.
How, like the products that you're offering or the services that you're offering to teach people to do these things. There was something else I came across on your website I want to ask you about. From ground zero to career superhero docuseries.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us, like, there's golden nuggets here, and I want you to tell us about the golden nuggets.
So we did a docuseries. It was right around COVID. We couldn't figure out when COVID happened. You know, we were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Nobody, you know, like everything came to a screeching halt. And I said, you know, we need to run into the fire and not run away from it. So what would running into the fire mean for us? I think we need to find some people across the United States. And we found 5 unemployed or underemployed individuals. And we offered them our online course. I did coaching with them and we filmed it. And it's over 12 weeks. So it's right in alignment with our online course. And every episode, you know, they're having their problem and they're learning that thing and they're overcoming, and, you know, they get better, and some of them get job offers right away. And then some of them, you know, don't accept. And, you know, it's a lot of stuff happens, and it's a variety of people. The 5 people are awesome. As different from each other as you could ever imagine. And I never thought that I would be a filmmaker.
But you are.
But I am. And our entire team jumped in and helped make it happen. Everything was done remotely. It was during a time that all the studios had shut down. So, you know, we were like, well, we'll just do it virtually. We'll film everything ourselves. And this year we won our first award. So we are an award-winning docuseries. And we've got 2 more awards that we're up for this fall. And we're waiting to hear, did we win? So it's been a blast. And, you know, like anything, there were some successes and there were some failures in the docuseries. You know, it's the real truth of what happened to people, what happens. And, you know, some people are ready for a new career and some people aren't. So, but there's a lot of learning in that docuseries. So for people who are like, well, I don't know how that would work. Well, watch our docuseries and we pretty much tell you.
And the way that we could do this, we go to superpurposes.com. I'm looking over there because my other monitor's over there. Superpurposes.com. And then in the top right-hand corner, there's a link that says resources. And then you click on docuseries and then a page opens up and you got all the resources there.
Yep. And we also got an IMDb page.
I saw that.
Which was really cool. Yeah. So I have some friends at Amazon and I was like, can you tell me, are we special? And they were like, oh my God, you were so friggin' special. There are no other companies in the world that have an IMDb page that are not entertainment companies.
You know what? I'm gonna throw that in the show notes so that everybody can go check it out because it's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
I saw that. And I was like, that's right on, man.
I think this goes to Guido when we were talking about how many different things we get into and the projects and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, nobody ever told me that I could do a docuseries. I didn't know I could. I was like, we're going to try, we're going to do this thing. And we just did it. We don't wait for permission. We don't wait for the class to be over. I just get into action. And I do think, kind of swinging back to having a learning disability. Yeah. I think that's one thing that I learned is that, don't wait to make the change. Don't wait to change your career or get a better job or, whatever. Just start doing it. Do the action and the rewards will come. Yeah.
Agreed. I'm just let that sink in, right? Just let that sink in. SJ, you're not doing this alone. You have some colleagues that are helping you out on the site?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So we have a wonderful team of people. They are, oh my gosh, we have so many people, and we don't have them all on our website because we have a lot of people come in and come out of our business. But right now we have 131 teammates. They range from age 15, as young as 15, and as old as 73. They are all walks of life. They are formerly incarcerated individuals. They are people that are out of rehab. They are stay-at-home moms and dads trying to get into their next thing. And they come to us understanding our values, what matters to us. And they know that we have a lot of patience, because we're all learning. Like I'm always learning every day. I'm making mistakes and
very much same. Yeah.
So we have a lot of people that, are like, well, I've never done this before. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. We can teach you how to do stuff. You have to have the right attitude. And if you do, then you can be part of our team. And, veterans, tons of immigrants. We have so many people who've migrated from other countries that are part of our team. And I love that so much. So yeah, but some of the key people, I would say, probably my biggest partner in the business is Maureen Kelly. She's our director of people and talent. She's just amazing. She's also a paralegal. She's also a real estate person. She's got a wide variety of talents. And she always kind of keeps me on track because I'm a little troublemaker. I'm naughty. I am. I'm a little naughty. But she'll always kind of go, okay, over this way. Let's not get in trouble. Let's take the right path. I'm like, oh, okay, Maureen. Yeah, I'm very obedient to her wishes.
Oh, that's right, honest.
But we have some awesome, talented people on our team. Yeah, so, could not do it by myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of, there's so many, I keep saying there's so many resources and there's just a wealth of stuff there. I'm excited for people to go check it out. You said, the path, right? And there are multiple paths and plans for individuals. When I go to superpurposes.com, if I'm interested, how do I know which one is the right one for me? Like, so if I go there and like, you've got all these different options for me.
Yeah.
What if I just don't know what to pick? Like, what do I do then?
I'm going to tell that everybody needs to wait because we are launching a brand new online course in January. And it's not that I don't want sales now. I do. I mean, you could contact us. And if you need coaching, I'm going to coach you and we'll give you one of our online courses. But our course that we're launching in January is like chef's kiss. It's the best of the best. It is so damn good. It's over 50 videos. Wow. It is every how to do every single step from beginning to end. I'm so proud of what we've created. And actually the online course is really fun too, because we have all these hidden little gamification things. So when you do something, you'll see confetti fly, you'll hit a button, confetti will fly, and you'll hear a yay. And it's just filled with a lot of fun. And yeah, so but certainly you could say, okay, I'm a college student, then you would need our college course. If you're a trans person, then you would take our trans and gender nonconforming course. If you're in the military or a military spouse, you would take our military spouse course.
Wow.
But I'm going to say, wait until January.
I'm going to have to splash like an exclusive thing here. Like when we do the video, it's going to have exclusive. So January, we've got some special stuff happening.
Yeah.
Let me ask that, I want to address something because there's the title, and we've used this throughout our conversation, how to get a job in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I may go there and I may see how to get a job in 12 weeks, and I may have an assumption, or I may have an expectation that I'm going to do something, and at the end of the 12 weeks, there's something automatically waiting for me after those 12 weeks.
Yeah.
SJ, what do we really need to do at the end of those 12 weeks?
So some people will get a job on day 22. It won't take them 12 weeks. We have a client who she hadn't worked in 5 years, but she only needed a few little tweaks. By the time she got to day 22, she got her first job offer. And on day 28, she got her second job offer. For other people, they can go 12 weeks, but they would not have grasped everything that they needed to get. And so they're going to need a little bit longer. Our guarantee is if you don't have the job, we will stick with you until you do.
Nice.
So, I'm not giving up on people. But on the 12 weeks, most of our people that go through the course or get the coaching, they have the 2 or 3 job offers, because we tell them, don't get one job offer. I want you to have 3, 4, 5 job offers. And they're like, oh my God, just brains are spilling out of their head. They're like, oh my, I couldn't even imagine having one job offer. Now you're telling me I'm trying to get 5. And I'm like, yeah, because we want them to be able to make the choice and get that liberation and freedom and know that what they're creating for themselves is the life that they deserve. Yeah.
I don't know anywhere else.
Did I answer your question?
You did. You did. And it wasn't what I was expecting you to say even. Like you just basically said to everybody, look, you're going to do these 12 weeks. Some of you might find something sooner. Some of you might find multiple ones. And if you don't, we're not abandoning you. Like this, right. We're here for you. I don't know anywhere else where you go take, a course or something like that. And then after it's done, that they kind of stick with you. I just haven't heard of that. It's a warranty of warranties almost. It's incredible, which is exactly what our conversation has been here tonight, as we've talked about so many different things. This has felt so natural and organic and real. And that's the part I'm not surprised at, having, exchanged with you and had our pre-conversations, et cetera. And as I find out now, I think I understand, SJ, a lot better why you are Super Julie. No, seriously. And as we close this thing out, I said at the beginning, you might have something special for us. Is there anything you'd like to mention before we close out tonight?
Yes. I want everyone to go to our website, superpurposes.com, and sign up for your free ebook. It's called Debunking 6 Myths About Changing Careers. It is a 70 or 80 page. It is a big friggin' ebook. It's free, but it is like, I know we could sell it on Amazon for for legit money. So, and maybe we'll end up doing that later on. We'll swing from free to getting paid for it, but it will take away all of the things that are stopping you, the 6 myths that we all tell ourselves, like, oh, I'm too old to change careers, or I'll have to start all over. It's all a bunch of malarkey. It's a bunch of malarkey. And then we give you some real tangible steps to take, like the actual recipe of what to do for each myth. So,
free ebook, no strings attached, limited time free ebook. It may not be there after a while. So if this is the opportunity to get it. Thank you. That is Super Julie Braun, who has given us a path through her site, superpurposes.com, to find the career and salary we may dream of through experience, expertise, information, courses, videos, and opportunities to learn more about ourselves. She provides us a lived experience, overcoming learning and other challenges that we've talked about, and now helping others through those successes. I will have all of her contact info in the show notes. Thank you again, Super Julie, and I hope to catch up with you again real soon.
Thank you.
That was fun chatting with Super Julie Braun as we talk about careers and your pay and just your pathway when it comes to career opportunities. And like I said in the middle of that interview, there's a whole lot more that we talked about. If you head on over to youtube.com/@themonthlysocial, you'll get the full interview with some additional steps that you can take career-wise, some additional stories that Julie and I shared. We just had so much content that we covered, so we thought we would share it on the 2 platforms just to cover it off because we were running out of time on this show. So youtube.com/@themonthlysocial. I hope to have it up soon after the release of this audio podcast. So again, thank you, Super Julie. Now, before we get to our next topic, let's go back to our musical guest, Felix Cavaliere, and we're going to listen to a song from his new album, Then and Now. Here is Road Trip.
Going on a road trip out of here like a couple of kids. Go where the wind might take us, be outrageous, running wild and free. I don't care where we go, just as long as you're tripping with me. We might go to the ocean, or up to the mountains, the Arizona desert, or the Jersey shoreline. Girl, we'll pack your things, 'cause it's almost road tripping time. We're going on a road trip out of here like a couple of kids.
is Felix Cavaliere of the Rascals with his song Road Trip off his new album Then and Now. More from Felix a little bit later on in the show. But now I have an exclusive. Yes, here on the Monthly Social, not heard for a while now, is an exclusive from thecoachescall.com. And it's a little show that I have over on YouTube where you can usually watch video and me doing sports commentary. But you won't find this segment on that show because it's exclusive here to the Monthly Social, where I'm going to talk to you about betting and the NHL and what recently happened with Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators. So let's get over to that segment right now. All right, I want to welcome you to a special edition of the Coach's Call right here on the Monthly Social. And it's been a while since I talked hockey here on the show. And typically I moved a lot of the sports talk over to thecoachescall.com where you can see some often updates on different sports topics. So you won't find this one on there. So this is an exclusive The Coach's Call right here on the Monthly Social. And I wanted to talk about gambling and the NHL. In particular, the recent suspension to the Ottawa Senators' Shane Pinto. The NHL suspended Shane Pinto for 41 games, and it had to do with gambling. Now, I want to pause just for a moment there. The NHL just suspended one of its players with something to do with gambling. The NHL, who has made gambling deals with FanDuel and MGM, the great one, Wayne Gretzky. You see Wayne Gretzky advertising MGM, NHL, sports betting on commercials. The NHL, where teams have gambling sports books advertised on their helmets or jerseys. Gambling sports books like Unibet, Bet365, or Bet99, the logo found on the Ottawa Senators helmet. The Ottawa Senators helmet that Shane Pinto was wearing. The same Shane Pinto suspended by the NHL for 41 games. When we look back at the series, and this is just one example, when we look back at the series between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers last season in the playoffs, an average of 8.5 minutes was dedicated to gambling commercials. This according to data that was pulled from CBC.ca, globalnews.ca, and that I believe fans were talking about on reddit.com. 8.5 minutes. And that was either through 30-second commercials or on-screen advertisement. That, I believe, does not include the new pop-up board advertising that takes place now when you watch a televised game. Not 100% certain. But still, 8.5 minutes on average is what's being spoon-fed out in advertising during that series. I don't know about the other ones, but I'll just take the 8.5 minutes. This is a league that has opened up sports books, has put advertising on helmets and jerseys, and then just suspended one of its players for 41 games, but really didn't tell the fans why. They did tell the fans that Shane Pinto did not get suspended because he was placing bets. I have not been able to verify at this time that I'm recording this what the cause of the suspension was. There's some rumors online that a third party may have used an account that Shane Pinto has. Maybe. I don't know it to be 100% true. But even then, isn't that a head scratcher? 41 games suspended for gambling, but not gambling. So he didn't gamble. Something took place, but there's the NHL at its finest. Love the transparency there, right? Well, we're going to suspend this guy, and it has to do something to do with gambling. But we're not really going to tell you why, because it's of a personal nature, etc., etc., etc. Well, by the way, he's gone for half the season. Now, when you think of a player being suspended for 41 games, half the season, okay? You know what? In 2022, 2023, the NHL handed out, over the course of its season and playoffs, 47 games in suspensions. 4 in the preseason, 35 in the regular season, and 8 in the postseason. On average, those suspensions, 2 games. So as an example, let's look. Illegal check to the head, 3 games. High sticking, 1 game. Illegal check to the head again, 3 games. Kneeing, 2 games. Elbowing, 2 games. Unsportsmanlike conduct, 3 games. Spearing. Somebody took their stick and stuck it into somebody else like a spear. Spearing, 2 games. What we're seeing is extra acts of violence are much less severe when it comes to suspensions than betting in the NHL or being involved in some capacity in betting in the NHL. But by the way, they're going to advertise a lot of gambling for you. A lot of gambling. Tons of gambling. For me, I pull the lever here on the slot machine and it just doesn't add up. The numbers don't add up. Okay? 41 games, Shane Pinto. Unexplained, no transparency from the NHL, really unexplained as to what the whole scenario was. But boy, are you sending mixed messages, NHL. You're sending mixed messages on the gambling. And I got a feeling this might just be maybe one thing that was caught, if it was meant to be caught, or if it's, I still don't know what the offense really is, other than some third party using somebody's account, and that warranted 41 games. So I know they're worried about the integrity of the game. Have you seen the reffing lately? Sorry, I know some people out there who listen to some of the commentary on the refs know I get on them a lot. But if you're really worried about the integrity, there's a lot of other parts of the game that you can start looking at in NHL. Not just betting while you're throwing betting and open sports betting down the fans' throats as kids are watching and climatizing to that messaging as well. You could do a lot better. I find myself saying that a lot to the NHL. You could do a lot better, NHL. That is the coach's call on this special edition exclusive here on the Monthly Social. Thank you. All right, on the heels of the coachescall.com segment there, let's turn to some music. Our special music guest, Felix Cavaliere of the Rascals. And here's a song off his new album, Then and Now. Here is Slip Away.
What would I give for just a few moments? What would I give just to have you near? Well, tell me you will try to slip away somehow. Oh, I need you, darling. I want to see you right now. Can you slip away? Slip away. Slip away. Oh, I need you so. Love it's wrong, the things I ask you to do. But please believe me, darling, I don't mean to hurt you. Can you slip away without him knowing you're gone? And maybe we can meet somewhere we're both unknown. Can you slip away? Slip away. Slip away. Oh, I need you, darling. Slip away. So slip away. Just slip away, darling.
That is Felix Cavaliere of the Rascals with his song Slip Away off the album Then and Now, which is his new one. We'll hear from Felix one more time at the end of the show, but now our last segment here for our November show. And it's one of those ones where I say, hey, it's that time of the podcast where I tell you a story or read you an article or something that has been experienced. And this one can be found on guidoprano.com/blog. And it is the top 10 etiquette tips for men when going to the gym. Let's have a listen. The essence of a gym hasn't changed much over the years in terms of what you'll find there. Most have a weightlifting area, a cardio area with bikes and ellipticals, a sauna, pool, and shower. Some of the bigger gyms also offer classes like yoga, cycling, and dance. Another thing that hasn't changed is the importance of men knowing, at the very least, the top 10 basic etiquettes of going to a gym. So, based on some recent experiences, here are my men's top 10 etiquette gym tips. Number 10, mind your music. While most gyms offer a shared music listening experience through their speaker system, it's hard to find someone who isn't plugged into their own smartphone. If you're going with your personal audio listening experience, just remember that no one wants you to play DJ. Keep your volume to a level that doesn't encroach on anyone else's listening enjoyment of the gym music, their own music, or the natural sounds of the gym. Number 9, a little less conversation. Unless you're there with a buddy and you're working out together, maybe not everyone wants their routine interrupted with your half-hour-long story about how great your weekend was. Before you try to strike up a conversation with someone, check out the signals they're sending. For example, if someone is wearing earbuds, has their eyes closed while focusing on their routine, or has their head down, or is doing breathing exercises between sets, they probably don't want to be bothered with conversation. If you do find a social connection while you're there, take it away from the gym equipment so others can take advantage of the equipment instead of watching you hang off it while you talk sports or try to solve world problems. Number 8, manage your weights. Lifting weights isn't always about how much you can lift, but also about how much control you have using your mind as much as your body. That is a lesson that can spill over into other aspects of your life too. With some training exceptions, if you can't control the weights coming back down, you're probably lifting more than you should be. Crashing your weight plates down on each other or making the floor rumble as you toss your bar to the ground before it crushes your wrists and back isn't garnering you any respect among gym rookies or veterans alike. Besides, your loud weight plate crashing is disruptive to other workout routines. If you're super serious about a heavyweight training program, you might want to find a gym that offers an environment more generated to that instead of a family gym. Number 7, men, mind your space. The locker room isn't meant to be a spa. Most gyms squeeze in more lockers than bench space to sit or change at. So it's not reasonable to think that you should take up most of the bench in front of your locker when there are 20 other lockers around you. That means being selective of what goes on the bench. And if that's you, then maybe your bags go in front of you on the floor or even underneath the bench. Perhaps you might even consider alternating what comes in or out of your locker. Above all else, don't go take a shower and leave your stuff sprawled all over the bench floor or other shared spaces. A couple of other mind your space tips include not trying to squeeze in front of a guy who is changing and his locker, as neither you or him want you to brush up against his nakedness unnecessarily. Also, leave your smartphones out of the sauna, as no one wants to hear your conversation about what to pick up on the way home. Everyone else in the sauna wants to relax and get away from the daily noise. Number 6, clean your machines. Most gyms now provide disposable cleaning wipes and extra cleaning solution, often strategically placed around the gym. Those wipes are meant to be used to wipe the sweat you leave behind from your back, your butt, your armpits, legs, face, and hands. No one wants to clean up your sweat, and they shouldn't have to. Besides, you'll be a better man for leaving the machines cleaner than what you found them. Number 5, manage your time in the shower. There is no scenario where you should be in the shower for 60 minutes at the gym. In fact, there probably isn't even a scenario where you should be longer than 10 minutes unless you have a need to use an assistive shower stall. Here's the basics. Wash your hair, rinse, maybe add conditioner, wash your body, rinse your head and body, and you're out. Like the bench situation with the lockers, most gyms have a limited number of showers. So it's even more important to have greater awareness when the showers are a bit busier than usual. No one wants to stand around in line with a towel around their waist waiting for you to finish singing your 10th version of Welcome to the Jungle. So wash, dry, and move on. Number 4, go easy on the cologne. One of the best feelings after a good workout is to smell fresh and clean, and sometimes a bit of cologne makes it feel even better. That doesn't mean that the guy 3 locker rows over should smell your brute cologne, that it should creep out the entrance door or linger for 20 minutes after you left. Cologne is one of those less is more type of things. The more you have on, the more the signal you're giving off is an insecure look at me. Cologne or deodorant should be something more personal. It's one of those less is more kind of things that demonstrates confidence if you have just the right amount on. Number 3, don't leave behind your used towels. You are one with your towel. Whether you wiped the sweat off your brow after some serious cardio, took it with you into the sauna, or wiped yourself down after your shower, no one wants to share any of your bodily fluids that you've left behind on that towel. If you watch the gym staff, they wear gloves to remove the towels for washing. So there's no reason you should leave towels behind in your locker, the bench, the floor, or anywhere where someone else needs to pick them up and move them out of the way. Clean up after yourself and bring your towels to the designated towel hamper. Number 2, shower before you go in the pool. Chlorine and other pool cleaners will only go so far when it comes to dipping your sweat-dripping body into the pool. Whether you finish your workout, you want to go for a dip, or you're coming out of the sauna, take a shower. Cleaning off your sweat before you dip into the pool or even the whirlpool is a good hygiene practice that helps keep the shared water cleaner and prevents you from dragging along your body odor like Pigpen's cloud of dust on Charlie Brown's peanuts. Number 1, don't pee or spit in the shower. There's a saying that goes something like, don't shit where you eat, and it applies here when it comes to peeing or spitting your phlegm in the shower. It's gross, unsanitary, and disrespectful to the guy who's going to use the shower stall after you. No one wants to see your booger or smell your leftover pee, and you wouldn't want to see or smell someone else's either. Either way, if you do this at home, remember, you're not at home. And if you don't do this at home, then don't do it at the gym either, and treat it like you're home. Look, these are just a few tips that I've observed from firsthand experiences at the gym that I know have value in sharing. If you see yourself in any of these, you can adjust your behaviors to make the experience better for others and yourself. Be better. You know you can. You'll feel better about it when you do because others will take notice and follow your lead. This is an opinion article by me, Guido Perino, of the Monthly Social Podcast. All right. Thank you again for listening to the Monthly Social this month of November. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching our videos on youtube.com/@themonthlysocial. I'd like to leave you with words that I started with, which is be good to each other and find ways to do good things in our world. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in December. I'm going to leave you with a song from our musical guest, Felix Cavaliere and the Rascals. It's one of their hits. Let's take this out with Groovin'.
On a Sunday afternoon, really couldn't get away too soon. I can't imagine anything that's better. The world is ours whenever we're together. There ain't a place I like to be instead of moving down a crowded avenue to anything we like to do. There's always lots of things that we can see. We can be anyone we like to be. All those happy people we could meet just moving on a Sunday afternoon. Really couldn't get away too soon. No, 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 no. We'll keep on spending sunny days this way. We're gonna talk and